Now, keep in mind, we are no fasting experts, and we're also not your doctor. So if you really have any questions, please discuss this with your doctor, with a nutritionist, or you can ask us more questions in the chat. Yes, and always comment, leave us messages, ask us questions, because at the end, we will try to get to as many questions as we can. So, woo! That was close. All right, so how many of you out there partake in any type of fasting? You can just go ahead, give me a thumbs up. Oh, we're putting that back?
The wind sensor did.
All right, there we go. So it's just gonna be a little bright, that's okay. But most of us are, doing some type of fasting, or we've heard about it or interested in it. Maybe don't know how to start, where to start, different kinds of fasts. So we kind of want to talk about the benefits of it, the different kinds of it, and maybe how you can start to incorporate it into your lifestyle, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so first, fasting is weight when we really have to understand this has been around for a very long time, but it is a very beneficial option to help with weight loss. And that's not the only reason why fasting is good, but this
Correct.
is what I want to talk about right now, how it can help as for weight loss. So the biggest thing is when you are partaking in some kind of fast. Right now, I'm just going to use the intermittent fast of like a 16-8 that most people have heard about. It's most common, and it's really where you fast for 16 hours and you're eating for 8. So in this example, you're eating for 8 hours. It is hard to overeat in calories when you're putting all of that into an 8-hour window. So that's where it can really help when it's cut back on your daily caloric intake. It's a much easier option to reduce calories than it is to just continue to eat. Maybe you start eating early in the morning and finish at night, so you eat a full day, but you're eating less calories. It's almost like you're always feeling hungry. You're never really having that full sensation. So when you extend, just keep it closed. When you extend the fast, then you have that 8-hour window. It's much easier to eat less in that 8-hour window.
And it can be for somebody that's super metabolically active like myself. I can be in a calorie deficit, which is not always a good thing, right?
Right. So yeah, that's what I mean. There's different kinds of fasts, different reasons, and fasting is not necessarily for everybody, but we'll definitely, touch on that. So the importance of the fasting for weight loss, like I said, is just a way to reduce calories. There are studies though that show that a regular low calorie diet without fasting versus fasting, say you're kind of about consuming the same amount of calories, there are equal benefits. It really is about just reducing the caloric intake. But like Ryan was saying, if you're someone that is trying to get a certain amount of calories in per day, it can be hard during that 8-hour window, which tends to be pretty hard for both of us. Okay, so again, but that's, this is for, just speaking of for weight loss. So let's talk about a little bit of like the negatives, how not to fast. So say you're doing, and again, I'm going to reference the 16-8 right now because it's the easiest, most common to reference, but say you're doing that, you do your lovely fast for 16 hours, and then it comes time for you to eat that 8-hour window and you just fill it with junk. That is so metabolically unhealthy. You're going to shock your system. It is not gentle on your body, and it's horrible. It's going to mess with that blood sugar, the insulin response. So in that, our eating window, we'll just refer to as our eating window, you really need to fuel yourself with healthy, nutritious foods, okay? A few other things, premenopausal females. Sometimes fasting can be perceived as stressful on the body. So if you're trying to push something too long, our body perceives it as stress, then we have a big cortisol rise, and it can actually kind of screw up our hormones. So we got to be very careful with that. Now, postmenopausal, when the hormones have done their thing, it's different. So your body doesn't necessarily perceive it as stress. Also for females menstruating, the week before our cycle, our body is a little bit more sensitive, a little bit, we need to be more gentle to our body. So sometimes that 1 week prior to, longer term fasting is not ideal because again, won't perceive more stress. You can screw up your menstrual cycle, screw up your hormones. And then certain medical conditions, fasting may not be for you. And that's why if you have those questions, definitely make sure you discuss with your doctor. Oh, and another thing was like, if somebody does have an eating disorder, adding this in may not be a beneficial option. So again, that's another one discussed with your healthcare provider. And then how to fast in a healthy way. So this is where I want to discuss like the different types. Do you have anything to say? I feel like I keep running on.
I do, but I think I'm going to keep waiting for this opportunity, this window where it opens up.
Okay. Well, before we go to how to fast in a healthy way, do you have anything for like how to not fast, like things that we should not do?
No, I kind of said it. I think I'd be most concerned about those those metabolically active folks that should not be in the calorie deficit and go, okay, my 8-hour window is now, but I'm here, I'm there, I have an appointment, I have a busy schedule, I don't eat enough, and I just end up losing weight, losing muscle, and it's more counterproductive.
Losing muscle, yeah. Got to be careful with that because we do eat too little. Yes, we will start to take from our muscle, and got to work hard for that muscle. Okay, so let's discuss some of the options of the types of fast. So this is like how to fast in a healthy way. So obviously we just talked about the 16-8. There's also the 5-2, which is eating your regular calories for 5 days, and then 2 days of the week, women eat 500 calories and men eat 600 calories. So that's,
or none at all.
Or none at all. Well, yeah, okay, or none at all. So that's your 5-2. Again, these are all just different ways that might work differently for your body. So if you're good with a very low calorie day like that, or maybe a 24-hour fast day, if that works for you and you feel great on it, then do that. There's also alternate day fasting. So you could do, you could even do like a 16-8 one day, a regular eating window the next day, or you could do 1 to 2 24-hour fasts a week. There's also the OMAD, which is 1 meal a day. So you're basically fasting all the way until dinner. But then your dinner is very high calories. So I do know personally some people that this works for them. I don't know. You can let me know. Give me a hands up.
I don't know many people doing that one.
If you do the OMAD. And I mean, I have a friend. She's actually a dentist, and she says how good she feels and performs in her job while she's fasting, the energy that she has. And then at night she comes home, but she said she eats a lot. It's hard. Not only does she break it with a very heavy protein shake, then she has her, high quality meat and your fats. I mean, you're basically trying to get in, 1,500 to 2,500 in a sense calories in one meal. So it's challenging. But if it works for your system, if it works for you, go for it. And then there's also other fasts like your water fasting and your juice fast. A couple of things I want to point to just to those. This will kind of roll back into like how not to fast. But I want you to keep in mind that sometimes during longer fasts or during your water fast, there's really great information and studies on it when it comes to like, dealing with cancer and stuff like that. But you also have to understand that during those long fasts, what also happens is we do burn a lot of fat, which is great, but you do it at a fast rate, and our toxins are stored in our fat. So that's also a quick release of toxins into our bloodstream that our natural detox system can't always keep up with. So then you have all these toxins circulating. So just kind of keep that in mind, like very fast fat loss releases those toxins, and you have to take other measures to detox those. And also your juice fast. A lot of these juice fasts, I mean, they've got sugars in them. Yeah. I mean, they're not added sugars, but it's from like the natural fruits and from the vegetables and stuff like that. So you just have to think about your insulin response and your blood sugar response to that, right? Okay, so other options. Oh, so let's talk a little bit about fasting and ketosis and autophagy.
Okay.
So beyond weight loss, another one of the main reasons to fast is autophagy, which is basically cellular cleanup. Like, do you want to give a little bit of more insight onto what autophagy is?
Is this my window? Because I might have to backtrack a little. Yeah, no, autophagy is a cool word. There's a lot of big words. You'll hear a few of those real quick here now. We'll make sure that they're broken down for you. But like, the whole idea of fasting is to figure out what works best for you. And, the science can be a little bit conflicting just because it hasn't been really well studied in human subjects. And now there's a lot of trends with different type of fasting protocols and such. But one thing is so clear to us, to me, to really everybody, is that 9 out of 10 people in the United States are metabolically unhealthy. You've got 75% of folks are either overweight or obese. You have almost 50% of people are pre-diabetic or diabetic. mean, these are massive numbers,
Mhm.
you know, and a lot of it's when we talk about metabolic health, you know, Lisa and I often will say something to the point where, like, it's always great to address things as root cause and really try to identify what are the contributing factors to disease. And so metabolic means really two things, catabolic and anabolic. It's the buildup and the breakdown of cells and tissues. And so, you know, when you're talking about being metabolically unhealthy, it's really the foundation of your health. I mean, that's how your cells divide. It's constant cell division. You know, and when your cells are dividing, they ultimately run their lifespan and hit up a certain point where they are no longer dividing the way they should be. And that's programmed, and that's all normal, fine and normal. That's what the body is designed to do. And when those cells hit that point, they really should undergo a phase of cleanup, and they should be discarded. Like, you know, there's a word apoptosis, where it's like cell programmed death. Like the cell now just programmed, all right, done, we're dying, we're gone, we're bye-bye. And sometimes they don't do that. Sometimes these cells hang around and become what they call senescent cells, another big word. But senescent cell, let's think of it like a zombie. It's basically it's basically a metabolically inactive cell, but it still has a lot of like pro-inflammatory cytokines and different things that are being released. So it's like still active, but not alive. It's this funky state. And
those are the cells you want to get rid of.
Those are the cells you want to get rid of. And what ends up happening is these senescent cells hang out, and they're there, and they're just building, and they accumulate. And they do it around tissues, and so they can affect they don't infect others, but they do. I mean, they sort of infect others, and it really becomes a nasty storm of pro-inflammatory markers and really starts a disease process. And that's a lot of times when you get into the cancer discussion, which we're not doing today, but you'll talk about cell division and out of control cell division and all these different markers for chronic disease, whether it's neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, you know, we said cancer, diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, and then all the way down to the foundational stuff like insulin resistance and stuff like that. So, but here's another sad reality is, like, as we age, we have a much harder time doing two things, but we have a much harder time cleaning up our old cells. So that's the word autophagy that Lisa said. So that's that eat yourself concept. That's the cell just saying, okay, I'm done. And they recycle the good parts of the cell, and then the bad parts they take out for waste. Autophagy is a normal process, but it declines as we age.
And also, jump in there. So with autophagy, also, if we are constantly eating,
right,
our body is going to constantly go to digestion and stop and not do this autophagy.
Right.
So you have to think about it like that. Like that, to me, that's why I do fasting, you know, because I want to make sure my body gets a rest from digestion.
Correct.
And then I can work on autophagy and cellular cleanup and get rid of that junk.
Yeah, and that whole concept of autophagy decreases with age. We have to find ways to really give it everything it needs and help its process. And as we age, we also it seems like we lose our appetite. Like if you're like me, I'm in my young 40s, I know I can deal with times of hunger better than I could when I was in my 20s and 30s, you know, not so many hangry episodes. And you often hear about the elderly folks having a hard time getting their protein goals because they just don't have this strong appetite.
Yeah.
You know, and even when there is an appetite, their portions tend to be smaller. And that's why food quality selection is so important, like Lisa said. But so you have these two things happening. As you age, you're eating less, but and then you also have a more difficult time cleaning up these old cells and these dead cells, which of course would explain the fact why age is the #1 determinant of chronic disease. So, you know, when we get into this discussion about fasting and time-restricted eating and these different like terms and phrases, I like to keep it simple. And I think Lisa will try to close it with very simple advice, but you'll feel it. Like I tell you, when we do an intermittent fast or a time-restricted eating, we do a 16-8, like you feel good. You feel the mental clarity, you feel the energy. And then it's funny because I hope this is like for most people, but when I do go to eat, I'm like, my mind is like, okay, you haven't eaten anything for a little bit. Let's put the quality stuff in.
Yeah.
You know, like we're not going to go for, you know, a fried onion ring. Like that doesn't make any sense to me, you know? So it's like when you see the food choices that you'll make, I think your brain would be more naturally inclined to say, you know what, I've done a good job fasting and now's my time to feed something that's very nutritious.
Right.
So, all right, autophagy, senescent cells. I know those are big words.
Yeah, but what about ketosis and insulin resistance and how the fasting?
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit before this too, whether or not ketosis, and you made a comment that it's very individual. You know, the science sort of points to the fact that the fast should be a little longer than usual or a little bit more like 24 to 48 hours. But Lisa said even ketones that showed up in her urine and
just after like a 14-hour fast.
Time restricted eating where it's a 14, 10.
But But they also, Amazon sells ketone strips, so you can test yourself at home and see how your body works. So it's the whole thing. Also, like we're with metabolism and everything, you just have to figure out how your body works and tweak things that work for you. So just because something that we do doesn't mean it's great for you. So you have to come in tune with your body.
But if you're trying to achieve ketosis, which is just basically a state where, like you said, your body is no longer relying on carbohydrates for fuel. It's saying, I'm going to break down some of this fat.
Yes.
We have this extra fat. We're going to break it down because it's energy dense, and we're going to free it up, and it's going to circulate, and the fatty acids from the fat are going to go to the liver, and we're going to make ketones. The body's going to use ketones as fuel. The ketones go to the brain through the blood-brain barrier, highly effective for the body, breaking down fat, like Lisa said. So that's the idea of ketosis. It's different for everybody. So if you're one that likes a long water fast, then you certainly understand ketosis. If you're doing really short time-restricted eating windows, maybe you're barely getting there, if at all. So you kind of have to experiment.
And also, like, for diabetics, not just for diabetics, but like when you're in ketosis, your insulin drops, so your body's really doing great things.
And naturally, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make sense if you were a hunter-gatherer, or our ancestors, they didn't have access to a quickie mart with, processed foods with 1,000 calories basically for 4 hours.
Right. But now, now we're so programmed to be eating all the time. Every time you walk by the fridge, you're eating. You're at the office, you walk by the little kitchen and you're eating. We're running after our kids during a soccer game. Here, eat your food. It's just constantly pushing food all the time. And our bodies don't that's not natural. Our bodies are not like that.
For sure.
I'm really trying to teach our kids, we eat 3 meals and you fuel up on that meal, and the snacks are just in between if you cannot make it, but we don't need to be eating all the time. And it's tough because, if you're a mother or father, those kids are constantly snack. They like snacks way more than food. Okay, so before we go into questions, just one more thing, because also, you guys, make sure if you don't already, make sure you subscribe to our channel, follow us, like us, so you don't miss any of these wonderful training episodes. You can watch all our previous ones. But obviously, Live Good, a nutritional supplement company. Let's talk a little bit about supplements that can help you without breaking your fast. And now this is there's gray area, right? This is not just black or white, because again, you also need to be able to know your body, test your body, see if something raises your blood glucose, see if something takes you out of ketosis. And it's all just about testing yourself. But some supplements that can help, and I do have some of them here. Like I said, we're traveling right now, so I don't have everything. But we have our creatine HMB. There is nothing to it. There's no calories. There's no sugars. So this can be taken during a fast. It can help with your brain, feeling good, help with muscle. Also, essential aminos. There are some studies that show amino acids can, increase your blood glucose. So, it wouldn't be a lot. It's just saying if you're trying to stay in that fasted state, it does not affect me in that way. So I definitely use these during fasting. It really helps, especially if you're doing longer term fasting where you want to preserve that muscle, right? Because if you do a longer term fast, your body will start to tap into those, the muscle reserves. Yep. So essential aminos, what a wonderful, wonderful thing to help preserve and maintain your muscle mass during fasting. Same if you want, you could drink the coffee. I do not have the container with me right now, but you can drink our coffee, or E3 can help. A little bit of the caffeine can also help push along a fast. For longer term fast, collagen peptides, while they may they may raise your blood glucose, they usually won't take you out of ketosis. And they can also help with prolonging a fast if you are partaking in a longer term fast. And then when the supplementation, you can take Factor 4, you can take our multivitamin, vitamin D, although the multivitamin, you have to remember there's, as well as the vitamin D, fat soluble vitamins that absorb better when eaten with food or fat. But also in the multivitamin, there's a lot of B vitamins in there, and they can sometimes make you feel a little queasy if you're taking them on an empty stomach. So know your body. For me personally, I cannot take our multivitamins while fasting. I have to wait till food's in my belly. So I just wait to take it after. What are some other, that's basically the supplements that we have that can, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And our magnesium, I didn't say that, but usually, it's taken at night. But yeah, so there's supplements to take. There's supplements that can help. But bottom line is, guys, fasting is such a great way for weight loss. It's such a great way to induce autophagy. Remember, cellular cleanup. really let your body take a break and work on repairing itself and getting rid of the junk, the zombie cells that Ryan was talking about. So you've got to figure out what works for you, try every kind of fast and see what your body works best with. I don't like doing anything long-term. I don't like feeling hangry. It happens to me kind of quickly. My blood sugar can drop. So I'm a real big fan of fasting 14 hours. That's kind of my average. So I'm like a 14-10. But I will say, you should, every single one of you listening to this and everybody should 100% fast for 12 hours. Should 100%. That is enough time to give your body a break to stop digesting and work on other things. Not necessarily get into autophagy, but just some repairing that goes on, right? So you need to at least do the 12 hours. And if you think about it, it's very simple. Let's say we stop eating dinner at 7, don't eat till 7 o'clock in the morning. I mean, that's like easy peasy. Not to mention if you are those nighttime snackers, this completely washes that away, right?
I'm glad you gave the example timing, because I want the takeaway to be simple. You know, or a 16-8 is pretty easy to accomplish too. If you stopped eating at, say, let's pick 8 p.m. because that's easy, right? You would not eat again until 12 noon the next day. That would be a 16-hour fast, guys. But you're sleeping for a good chunk of that, and then you're getting up, and hopefully you're hydrating properly. And, you know, by the time that lunchtime hour comes around, you may have a little bit of a challenge around the 10, 11, who knows what time in the morning, but you might be tempted to eat. But by the time it hits 11, 11:30, you might even forget the fact that it's 12 o'clock and may go longer. It happens to me often. But so by 12 noon, you eat again, and then you have your 8-hour eating window until 8 p.m. So that's an example. And I would do that. I personally do that 2 or 3 days a week. Like I said, if I do it too much, I find myself in a calorie deficit. And, it can be really challenging because that's not my goal right now at this stage of my life. So, but really enjoy it for all the reasons mentioned above: mental health, the clarity. I know what it's doing on the metabolic level, and I feel great. And so when people start doing it, there's never a time. There's certain disease states and parts of the process where you want to be careful. I think obviously pregnancy, we're not talking about there's some contraindications.
Oh, correct.
So,
yes,
so
not.
pregnancy, of
Or
course,
nursing,
menstrual cycle,
no.
nursing,
Yeah.
no.
Need to eat.
You know, active cancer treatments, of course, you need to run that through the oncologist to make sure things are on the up and up. But yeah, I mean, I just don't know anybody that says that they when they try it, that everybody seems to have some benefit because they can tailor it to themselves.
Right. And just get a little bit, get out of that school of thought is like you wake up and you have to eat, or
Right.
I go to you go to the gym early in the morning, you have to eat before you work out. No, fasted workouts are
Sure.
wonderful, and you really start to tweak your body and figure out like how to eat the right amount of the day before to make sure you can fast for longer. We just have a question here by Darren. Is it okay to skip breakfast or prolong the overnight fast period till midday? 100%. So again, it's figuring out what works for your body. Breakfast is really break fast. So say midday, you are breaking your fast. That's your breakfast. Okay, pick up on this because I honestly don't know the answer. So maybe, how do I get rid of this?
Yeah, I don't know. You just click on the next one.
I did. You do, and I'm not essential oil therapist by any means, but I will have to look into this and reach out to a couple people. So go ahead and email me. I'd love to.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Look into that for
that
you.
question.
Yeah.
You know, another super effective way for autophagy to be enhanced is exercise. You know, we've talked about this is all about food as medicine, guys. That's what this fasting thing is. The concept is. And so when you go to eat, put that highly nutritious food in, high in protein, of course, and then when you're not, make sure your exercise routine is in there too. You guys will trust me, you'll feel amazing. Exercise.
Do you drink?
Sleep.
Elizabeth says, do you drink water during trouble with the 16? Sparkling water. Those bubbles in there, they really do help. So there's little tricks that can help get you there if you're not used to fasting, just to help prolong. And then I tell you, it's going to be so natural while doing it. Okay, here's one. Sorry, I'm going up and finding more.
Okay.
All right. Mel says, can you use lean while fasting? So lean is our weight. If you don't know, check it out on our website, livegood.com. But lean is our body composition enhancement and formula. Yes, you can. It can even help too, because the fiber in it, how it expands in your stomach with glucomannan, it can help you feel full. So lean is targeted to be taking before meals, just to help you eat less during those meals. Right. But say maybe you're fasting and you're really only eating 2 meals. Yes, you can definitely take while fasting. Yep. Did you find one?
No. But that's good. I think we covered a good chunk there, Lisa. Good job. All right, well, we're 25 minutes in.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, lots of good comments, lots of people saying how they fast. So awesome. So again, always available for questions via email. So if something comes up, if you start fasting yourself and you have further questions, please email me. Next week, make sure you subscribe, because next week we have a good one. It's our 11 healthy habits that have changed our life.
Yeah.
Right. So you'll get to learn a lot about what we do that has really made an impact on our health and longevity.